Now, I keep telling people that the 3D printer market is red hot, and it is. Manufacturers are bringing out models and cutting each other on prices all of the time, and this period now seems a particularly active period. In the last couple of months I've already done a couple of videos on the new models out from Elegoo, and we've got this one. Clearly this big box is another 3D printer, and this is from FlashForge actually. It's FlashForge AD5X. Now we've had the FlashForge Adventurer 5, beautiful machine, worked really well, and where it differs from this one is this one's 4-colour. Now I checked out the price on this, it's sold out at the moment, but it's £359. I mean, when you think about the complexity of the machine and the task it can actually do, and the fact this is Core XY and 4-colour, £359 is absolutely peanuts. I mean, granted, the bedside is 220 by 220, the volume of 220, where most of the machines are sort of 256 by 256 by 256. But this is the same size as the Adventurer 5, and I personally didn't really feel much in the way of restriction from that 5, and that 5 did a really good job. So I'm super looking forward to getting this out of the box, putting it together and doing a bit of work on it so we can see what it's actually like. Now, having another printer is going to cause some people to bitch about it, which I don't really understand, because if you think about the hundreds of videos that I do, a handful are printer reviews, and the way of getting you to know about printers is to send them to people like me, and that's the industry and that's the way it's done, and of course it helps me run the channel, so you're going to get another printer review, and if you don't like that, find yourself a cave somewhere and grab a pointy stick. Let's get this out of the box and find out what it's actually like. Okay, that's out of the box. Clearly a little bit of assembly to do, right? It comes with this PEI sheet, which is one of the things that FlashForge are doing that I actually found really useful and helpful. It's got this plastic handle on the sheet and a couple of little raised bits on there. So putting the sheet in, you grab the handle and you slide it in and lay it down, and it clicks in place. Believe it or not, that can be a pain on things like the bamboo, because you have to slide it correctly. Those little knobs it's got at the back there aren't quite high enough, and so I'm forever reseating the PI sheet. And I found on the Adventurer that when I did that, that was just so easy to do and to snap into place, and it looks like it's going to be the same on the 5X. This packaging here was directly in the centre. I pulled it out there, and then a bit of packaging here, a bit of packaging there. It was really well packed, and in this we've got the bits that are responsible for it being the 4-colour. This being the main bit, which is obviously the control section, and then we have a whole bunch of these little handles that fit 1, 2, 3, 4 on there, so that we can hang 4 different colours or 4 different types of filament on it. I'm actually thinking about doing a valve, and the valve that I'm thinking about doing needs a TPU insert with a a PLA exterior, so we can print multi-materials on this and print an engineering part, like a valve for example, in one go. That's kind of cool. So let's assemble our bits, shall we? So the first thing is this bit, this metal bracket. That bracket holds the screen, which is right there, internal to the machine. I guess it's done that way to protect it during transportation. But we undo these 4 screws with the tools provided. I have about 1 million of these things now. So undo those 4 screws to release the screen. See those 2 plastic lugs and these 2 square holes? You line the lugs up with the holes, and when it's lined up, push it firmly, and that's the screen attached. At the bottom of the machine you'll see 2 green arrows at the front and 1 yellow arrow at the back pointing to some screws. They're the retaining screws for transportation that hold the bed still. Just unscrew those. To install the colour module, we take that plate there, and there are 2 screw holes there, and it screws on there with these tiny screws that they give you in a little plastic baggie, so screw that on. This is the IFS module, and it's numbered 1, 2, 3, 4. These PTFE tubes need to face downwards. There's a cable connection which needs to face to the right hand side. You slot it in place and then twist it to lock it in position. This is the multi-feed tube, and the tubes push into the top there, and apparently there's no specific order to them. This end goes into the print head right there. In order to get it in, there's a small grey lever at the side. Press that and push it in place. So the back of the machine, there's a port right there, and then in the back of the IFS, there's another port, and they join together with this cable here, and you just push the cable into place. Then here you'll notice two screw holes. That's to take this cable guide. So the cable goes underneath the guide, and there are two screws to hold it in place. So here's a curious thing. It came with 4 bits of red plastic like this with a bit of PTFE tube right there going up the centre. It doesn't fit on that way. It fits on that way, or at least that's how it seems. It seems to slot in there. But if you put this on before you try and put your filament on, you find the filament won't go over that. So maybe you're supposed to put the filament on and then that goes on as an extra shield to stop it dropping off. But then why the PTFE? Maybe you're also supposed to use this if you want to use like the larger rolls, because you can get filament in 5 kilo rolls. And maybe you want a large one and you want to guide it. I quite honestly have no idea what they're for. So I've done some research. Hopefully it will become clear in time. I'm going to leave them off now, and that's it done. There is one more thing I want to point out to you. So on the control cable going to the print head, you'll find a little hook, and that hook hooks onto one of these to make the cable run nice and tidy. One of the things that I really liked about the Adventure 5 Pro was how easy it was to remove the nozzle. So they've kept that feature here. This comes off easily. You'll notice the connector is a plug connector, so there's no wires dangling. And that there is the actual nozzle. We can remove that heat guide by flipping it out like that. Take off the shoe like that, and see this little clip? Pop that little clip and the nozzle comes straight out, which I think is just brilliant, because that makes cleaning or changing the nozzle really, really easy. And the nozzle was always a bit of an issue for me because normally you had to unscrew it. With this, it's that easy to remove the nozzle. Replacing the nozzle is clearly just the reverse of removing it, and I truly think that nozzle design is a little bit of genius. And if you looked at the nozzle, there wasn't that much to it, and the expectation is the nozzle price is going to be pretty low, and being able to get it in and out that easily is going to encourage different materials, different nozzle sizes, and different effects that you can do with that. Now, one of the things about it, of course, is it isn't enclosed, and a lot of these Core XY machines have enclosures and heated chambers. This one has a heated bed for sure, but controlling that temperature throughout is going to be a bit more difficult without an enclosure. But then equally, you know, it's only 350 quid-ish, and somewhere you've got to do something to keep the cost down, and this has been their choice. I think it's a pretty good choice. But I bet you they're thinking of something else. I bet you the next models are going to be enclosed, and they're going to be more expensive because of that. As a starter machine that does multicolour, not sure you can do any better than this. It's a nice machine. Of course, we are now ready to go, and all we really need to do is turn it on. When you turn it on, you're greeted by the splash screen. And that really irritating jingle. First thing we need to do is select our language, and of course we're going to select English. And then of course the obligatory warning to remove those screws. Now we get a chance to enter our Wi-Fi settings. There's mine, so let's select it. And here we enter the Wi-Fi password, which I'm going to turn the camera off for now. Right, if you have FlashMaker installed in your phone, now is the time to point the phone at the QR code. And there we go. We get recognised and confirm the binding. Once you've done that, it will calibrate the machine. Okay, so to load filament, start from the home screen and press this that looks like a roll of filament, and it'll take you there. Press number 1, which is going to be the one that we actually want to load, and we're selecting that slot. Feed the filament in, and then the IFS will automatically pull the filament up through the PTFE tube. And then we press the load. And here we've got a choice between filament type, And here I'm putting PLA in, and you can see the filaments it can accept. PLA, ABS, PET, GTPU, etc, etc. Chick PLA, because that's what we're putting in. And here we need to put the colour in. And I just put white in there. And then we can load it. And when it's done, we can repeat that process with 2, 3 and 4. So the machine itself comes with a 0.4mm nozzle, and the maximum print speed is 300mm per second with a maximum travel speed of 600mm per second. The maximum extruded temperature is 300 degrees, and it has an accuracy of sort of plus or minus 0.1mm. But the software is really Orca Slicer, and if you look at it, you'll see that it's very like the Elegoo Slicer and very like Bamboo, so pretty easy to use. Of course, the big thing about this in the colors, and here we can add different colors by clicking the add one filament button. If we click the add one filament button, we can add up to 4 filaments, and if you look on the numbers 1, 2, 3, 4 and you click on the number, it'll pull up a custom selection for you to add color. If we click on the down arrow by the type of filament, then we can change the filament type as well. Now, there isn't a camera on the ADX5. I mean, for me, that's not really an issue because, you know, all the ones I've got cameras on, I've never used the camera anyway. But I did plug a camera into the USB port, a USB camera, and it recognised that a camera had been plugged in and pulled up a control panel, but it wouldn't turn the camera on. So my guess is a future add-on is a camera, maybe sold as a kit, as one of the ways of keeping the price down, which probably was a good decision for me because I couldn't care less if there's a camera or not. But if you want a camera, I'd suspect that there is one on the way. Now, the rest of it is actually done in Orca Slicer. We've set up the machine, you've got it out of the box, put it together, set it up, had a really quick look at the software. When we're using the colour, there's a painting tool inside of the slicer, so you apply colour to your model, and that colour is then recognised and printed when it's sent to the printer. I'm obviously more interested in the fact that we can use it for multi-materials, but for that, what we need to do is design something appropriate, which is exactly what I'm going to do. So I'll design something, we'll give it a print, and we'll see how it goes. Now, I may sound a bit like a kid in a candy store, because that's exactly what it feels like. It's actually really quite exciting. I mean, I've never used multicolour, I've never used multi-material, and having the ability to do that at such a low cost, I find pretty interesting. And it overall looks like a really good machine when you consider the price bracket it's in. It's unbelievable as far as I'm concerned. Anyway, let's continue this exploration. I hope you enjoyed the video so far, and thank you very much for watching. And please do remember to like and subscribe.